I had a conversation with Kanye one time, and he goes, "You want my advice? Don't you ever make a song people like." Kanye's point was, forget about where culture's always going to be stuck in the norm.
Yeah.
I did this podcast the other day with the guys from The Minimalist. They were talking about Wayne Gretzky always used to skate where the puck was going to be. That's what a leader does. That's what a dreamer does. And Kanye hit it on the head. The bottom line of his message was be bold. Early on at Hillsong NYC, I remember people say, when are we going to have this ministry? I always felt like we were failing somebody.
Right.
Now I look back as a 45-year-old, I want to be a part of a church that's grounded and healthy and has a sustainable pace and honors people and their time and is conscious of that stuff. And I think there are tons of churches out there that are moving towards that. And I think it's a beautiful thing. I'm not going to be understood. There are people who have made their mind up about me. Someone sent me a video of somebody that had clipped together. When is Carl going to own what he's done? It was literally a clip of me going, I own what I did. No excuses. I'm at fault. What tripped me up was not fame. Fame is an exposure of who you've always been. That's not my story. Like, I was the same guy, and the difference was the spotlight. We have decided to make the right voices matter. There are some people who have their mind made up about me, and my job isn't to change people's minds about me. Only God could do that. If there's a woman listening and she's maybe even in shoes similar to yours or she's lost a lot, what do you say to her today?
Find out what you love, what's in your heart to do. Find the right people that can help you along the journey.
What do you think's been the hardest part?
I think the hardest part is just
getting healthy is hard, but when it's intentional, it's possible.
And also staying unhealthy is hard. Or
pick your hard.
Pick your hard. I think that was a big thing for me too. I could choose my hard. I could choose divorce. That's hard.
Yeah.
Because that's a whole other thing that you've got to deal with. Or you heal. That's freaking hard. Like, they're both hard. So it's like, choose your hard.
And I've watched you choose your hard when it comes to relationship breakdowns, because it's hard to remain bitter. It's hard to get over. So there's some people who you've watched like slowly trickle off, and you're like, why did that friend just stop texting or calling? And it's a direct result ultimately of my bad choices that affected you. But I've seen you make decision after decision to refuse the road of bitterness. And you just constantly keep on working. And I think that's why some people don't get healthy, is because it's too much work. And here's one thing we know is unhealthy, that we would look back, and we'll do a whole episode on church stuff, I think, because people have asked a lot about it. But I could definitely say what was unhealthy before, that we look back, was the pace.
Yeah.
I would do that differently. I mean, I would do a lot differently, but especially the pace, because it was just unhealthy and it was just unsustainable. And we just didn't know. We didn't know what we were doing. So I think, and a lot of Christianity can muddle this, because if we preach messages like to the ends of the earth, beautiful. Every day could be the last day on earth, beautiful. We got to change people. We got to convert people. We got to win souls. We got to do all this. It's like, yes, I was that guy. So it's like, hey, we need to have another service. You better believe we do. Let's go. Let's do it. It felt good in the moment. Let's go. Let's go to 5. Let's go to 6 services. And
your adrenal glands are blown up.
It's not healthy. I'm not doing well. But my mind, I can justify it. Christians can justify it. Here's what's definitely going to happen in a growing, thriving church. Your volunteers are going to hurt. And they might not know it then, but when I look back on that now, I go, we were set up for failure because we had like one leader for every 400 volunteers. And you want to hope that sweet one leader is going to be good enough to communicate the heart and the vision and the passion of the leadership or whatever, but it's not going to happen. So you almost have to protect people from themselves.
Yeah.
And I think now people are like, what would you have done? I said, I probably would have done 2 services and then just said, sorry. I'm going home. It is one of my favorite things about Michael Todd.
Yeah.
Is that guy so faithful to his call, he refuses to be moved. I was not that good.
Yeah, he's so great at it.
I was so interested in making everybody feel wanted and pleased that I remember early on at Hillsong NYC, I remember people say, when are we going to have this ministry? When are we going to have that ministry? And I'd be like, we're getting to it. I always felt like we were failing somebody.
Right.
Now I look back as a 45-year-old, what I would say is there's a great church down the road, Oak Cliff Presbyterian right there. They have a phenomenal ministry for books, for people who want to read books. It is legitimate. Go there. We're not doing it. Here's what we're doing. That, and there were a couple of us in my peer crew. We looked ahead at some of the ministers that we respected, and we're like, we don't want to be them.
Right. But it was hard to get out of.
I don't want to be like you. So what do? A couple of us realized that the pace was unsustainable. But it takes a lot of courage to change it. Judah Smith,
he's done a great job.
He did a great job of, it's funny, he got criticized at the time because Judah was like, I'm not doing this. I'm not living that life. I'm going to slow everything down. And if people like it, they like it. If they don't, they don't. I'm going to do some online things. And there's all these guys talking about, oh, you can't have online church. Judah Smith is a heretic. Well, a couple years later,
2 years later,
you're calling him
world.
trying to figure out how to do stuff online. And I thought that was funny, but Judah was smart. And there's a couple other guys now that are starting to see it. And I see the opposite, though. I have amazing relationships with pastors all over the country still. And I talk to some guys who are like, we're doing good, man. Like, we're pushing the limits. We're opening up a new campus. I've got 4 services here, but I'm okay. I'm not doing it like you did, because you've taught me better. And I'm like, well, man, I don't think it works like that. But everybody has to learn their own way. I think healthy pace is very godly. And if you're not careful, you can use Christian-themed messages and it can destroy your life. Mm-hmm. So, like, for instance, I remember when our pastor came out with a book called There Is More. Great message, loved it. And I remember sitting there going, is there a book called There Is Less? Because I don't want any more. I don't know if I can do any more. And two things can be true. There's always more if you are somebody who loves God, always more. And less is better so often. I love and am committed to the BSIDE. They have an amazing 30% off sale right now for summer. 30% off. It comes out to $7 a month. Lecrae, Tim Ross, myself, a couple other people that are going to start to come on the platform. As you end this summer and you go into the biggest fall season of your life, what you put into your mind is going to be seen in your life. Check it out. Love you. BSIDE for life. These two truths live in the same world. And for me, I was just I'm going to go until the wheels fall off. And it really was a bad choice. So we know now healthy is when you have margin.
Yeah.
To me, healthy used to be I survived. So to live with margin means you walk away from stuff. It means, but if we don't have another service, 800 people are not going to get in. Man, thank God I'm not the savior. Thank God their salvation's not based on me. I'm sure God in his infinite glory and wisdom can still find a way to reach those 800 people. It ain't going to be me. It ain't going to be me tonight. I'm going to go home and be with my family. I didn't think like that.
We didn't have that.
I do now. I'm grateful for it now. I'm remorseful.
I think that the pandemic, though,
definitely
changed that for so many people.
It did.
And then a lot of people didn't. They went back to what they. Yeah.
So I think my huge encouragement for people, the point of saying that is more is not better. Please be careful because people around you will always want to justify it. And it's a fair justification. It's not like, when we were doing our thing, people were using us. It was just that was the conversation of like, hey, how can we expand? How can we grow?
Yeah.
How can we move forward? I just don't think like that anymore. I don't believe that's even right anymore for me.
Right.
I don't need to be a part of a church that's going to take over the world. I don't.
No.
I want to be a part of a church that's grounded and healthy and has a sustainable pace and honors people and their time and is conscious of that stuff. And I think there are tons of churches out there that are moving towards that. And I think it's a beautiful thing. I think it's going to change the world.
100%.
You hated our pace.
Oh, it was tough.
But I was not. Yeah. I was not having it.
It just wasn't even an option, though.
Yeah, true.
We didn't think that way. No one thought that way, and our leaders didn't think that way.
No, we had amazing leaders and amazing volunteers. And there's people who are like, "No, I'm good. I want to serve at 5 services." And you can tell a person
we used
like
to tell
that,
them, "No,
don't." They're going to do it anyway,
right?
Because people are human, and it might be good for them then. But when the train falls off the tracks, that's when you're going to start to hear people come out of the woodwork and saying this happened and that happened. And it's a part of leadership. It's part of life. But I think if you can get it before it breaks down and slow things down, it gets better.
Yeah. What are some things that didn't go well in our healing journey? Someone's wrote, it sounds a bit like it's been a breeze.
Let me vehemently apologize. So first of all, it has a bit of breeze. If you want to use a wind analogy, it'd be a raging tornado. That's a better. So our journey,
no breeze.
I think everything has been hard.
Yeah.
Every single thing has been hard.
You've got to keep in mind we are now almost 4 years down the track.
Yeah,
so I mean, if we were doing a podcast at
Couple
the
months
beginning
later,
of this,
yeah.
oh my gosh.
Yeah, it would have been trouble. I think what's been hardest, you go and I'll go, because I don't know what you're going to say. I don't know what I'm going to say, but I want to hear, like, what do you think's been the hardest part?
I think the hardest part is just getting through it. I don't know. Yeah. It's been like, there's been times it's so frustrating because you just want to get out of it. Like you want to be on the other side. Like, I just want this to be done. Like, and by this, I mean like just all the pain and all the thoughts and all the things, like you just want it to be done. And you can't. And if you don't do the work and you don't do the process of the healing, it's still going to be there. Like it doesn't go anywhere from your... we saw it on a TV show last night about you take your thoughts and you put it in a box.
That was awesome. Hilarious. Like,
I wish that was the case.
Yeah.
But it's just not.
No, it doesn't work.
Like you can think about like pushing things away and just getting over it and moving on. It just isn't the case.
Yeah, I think the hardest part for me, I would say, is that everything takes time, period.
Yeah.
Like you can't make it better.
Yeah.
That's been hard for me because I want to make stuff better. And normally if you do the right things, immediate result, it gets better. Healing from betrayed trust and marriage stuff, it's going to take time.
Takes
and that's
time.
been the hardest thing because there's been so much heartache where it's like, man, this isn't going to get better for a long time.
Yeah.
And I gotta be okay with that.
Yeah. And I think that I get asked that a lot. Like, when can I breathe again? Like, when am I going to be able to...
It'll happen.
Like, trust again. And I had someone in my life who encouraged me in this, and I would encourage everyone in the same situation with that same question, like, when is this going to get better? For yourself, if you're doing the work and you're getting your help and you're like clinging to Jesus, you're going to get better. It is going to get easier. The pain is going to get easier. And that also depends on the other half as well, like how that works. But the pain does dissipate to a degree. There's always something, but it's different. It changes.
A question I got, somebody had asked me, is this healthy?
Oh, us doing this.
Is this healthy for us to do?
Talking about this publicly?
Yeah. Well, there's two types of people that ask that: a genuine person and a person trying to take a shot.
Right.
And to the genuine person who says, "Is this healthy?" Well, the answer is yes, and here's why. Number one, every decision we've made has been through deep counsel. So we have incredible people that we've had for now, 2-3 years, and then 4 altogether. We've had people around us helping us make decisions.
Every decision.
Part of an addict's recovery is to live a life of counsel, where everything you do, it's a sign of humility. A proud man won't do it because he doesn't need input. I got this. But a recovering trust breaker presents everything. So everything we've done has gotten checked by everybody we love. And so it is a healthy thing, and it's not something that is a burden. It doesn't take us out of our sober journey that we're on. And so it's a fair question. And I think the thing that comes with that is it healthy for me to be doing something that's in the spotlight?
Yeah.
Or, in
the limelight.
So to that, I would say this isn't the spotlight. This isn't the limelight. We're doing a podcast. And limelight and spotlight isn't something you pick, which is such a funny concept. Like, I am under no illusion that just by showing up again, I'm going to have a spotlight. It's so funny when people say that. I'm like, people have their own agency. They will choose who they listen to. So just the fact I'm doing a podcast doesn't mean it's limelight. If there's blessing, if there's whatever, cool. But here's the thing about fame and about limelight, because people ask this a lot. Fame.
Is it healthy for you?
Well, I think it's interesting. I think it's interesting when people who have never walked in your shoes have so many clear thoughts about you. Be careful, man. Fame is what tripped you up last time. Really, Mike from Delray Beach, Florida? That's what tripped me up? I don't remember having a conversation with you, Mike. So how would you know what tripped me up?
Yeah, that's a great one.
What tripped me up was not fame. Fame is an exposure of who you've always been. Mm-hmm. So does fame change people? Of course, there are aspects of you that change if you have fame or notoriety, but that's not my story. Like, I was the same guy, and the difference was the spotlight. So you're going to be who you are. Fame does not change you. Fame exposes who you've always been. And what spotlight fame exposed in me was I was a guy who had no boundaries, zero, And I was very impulsive with no discipline. And I kept to myself of matters that really, really, really were deep and important. I've been that guy my whole life. And then there came a point where my platform was such where it was exposed. But fame didn't do that. So for people who wonder what fame does, it normally comes from people who have never had a platform. And they speak about stuff like that. To that, I just smile and go, bless you. You're sweet. You're a sweet one. Because you don't know what this is like. That's not what you think it is. And you don't choose to be famous. If you could, everybody would be famous. It doesn't work like that. It's a God providence thing. And sometimes when you're in a position for whatever reason, there's a spotlight on somebody. And so our story is number one, we don't see this as a spotlight. And number two, we are surrounded by incredible people who are supporting us in every decision we make. And number three, fame isn't an issue if you're the real deal. It just isn't, because you're going to get exposed at a greater level. The question is, what's it going to expose?
Right.
I know people who have been famous, and it's important to say that we don't consider ourselves famous because we've known real famous people.
Right.
Maybe in a swath of the Christian community, we're well known. Yeah, we've got some notoriety, but fame is a different world. So I'll say this to the celebrity Christian epidemic: there aren't that many celebrity pastors. There's two. There's two celebrity pastors. So when everybody's celebrity pastor issue, who are you talking about? There's only two ministers operating today that are true blue celebrities. That's it. So everybody else, they're just talking about a concept, I think, that where the pastor thinks he's a big deal. Just say that. But celebrity pastors, there's two. There's two.
Seriously.
Yeah, so I think it's a fair question. No, me stepping into this part of our life is about us sharing our story. And it's about me helping people with my failure and what I learned, and you showing people from your vantage point what's going on. And if I wanted to pursue a different route to get fame, I don't think I would be on here every day talking about horrible things. So we don't want it. It's not important. And I'll say this too, I think there's people who it's going to take time. And my life will outweigh your doubt eventually, because people who are just like, they're speculating about motives, and it's going to happen. But is it healthy to do something like this? It is if it's in counsel. Let's go to discovery number two. Discovery number two that we both agreed on was that we've discovered that you have to take risks. You're going to have to step out. And why that's become so pronounced for us is because so many people have reached out to us saying, you guys are really brave. Like, I'm inspired. I want to do something. Like, how did you move from shame into something? How did you not let your past hold you? There's so many people that are listening to this right now that are on the precipice of a breakthrough, and they're scared and they won't step out in faith. We are examples of maybe a couple that is stepping out, regardless of looking for public approval, regardless of do people agree? No, I think the goal when you step out in faith is, do I feel called to this? Do I feel like this is something I want to make a difference in?
Right.
And you got to do it. There's a lot of people. That's why the social media community is so prevalent with people commenting. There's a lot of people commenting because they have so much time because they're not doing anything.
Correct.
So now you don't have to have an influence to have a voice. You just have to have a login. And so I think there's an element of the criticism of culture right now that it's indicative of people who aren't doing a lot. And I think that's going to be something you got to get over. You got to take some risks. Like, I like this question. What would you do if you weren't scared about what people thought? Whatever comes out next, I would seriously consider putting before God and going, is that what I need to do?
That's good.
Because the only reason I wouldn't do this is because I'd be worried about what people might assume or think.
Yeah.
And it's such a horrible way to live. Laura, if we do a podcast, people are going to think I want to start a church. People are going to
Correct.
People are going to think this, they're going to think that. Why do I care?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Right.
What do I think? What do our trusted people think? What does God think? Let's do it. Let's go. That's how we've done this, is because we have decided to make the right voices matter. And when it comes to approval, when it comes to what people think, if somebody has their mind made up about you, you cannot change them. And that has been pronounced to me. I expected it, and it was exactly what I expected. There are some people who have their mind made up about me. Maybe listening, someone has their mind made up about you. And your goal is to change people's minds. Only God could do that. And my job isn't to change people's minds about me. My job is to live honest. I don't really care. What you think about me is none of my business. So it doesn't impact me through that boundary and that self-defense system. But you have to get to a place where you're confident in the decision you're making. What were you going to say?
I don't remember.
You were about to hop in and say something right there.
Oh no, I was going to say it is hard for you though to.
Well, I'm human.
Yeah.
I got to get over it. And it's a daily thing.
We've had to put some boundaries up on social for us.
Yeah.
Because of that.
And that's how we've stayed. That's how I've protected myself, because my thing is I am a recovering people changer. Mm-hmm. I think I can change anybody's mind. And I can. I'm good at it. And that's not always bad. But it becomes bad when your desire is to be understood. Yeah. So in this chapter, I'm not going to be understood. There are people who have made their mind up about me. Someone sent me a video of somebody that had clipped together all the stuff I've said so far, and they thought that it was tearing down. For this person was like, when is Carl going to own what he's done? Look at what he says. It was literally a clip of me going, I own what I did. No excuses. I'm at fault. The person's like, see, guy won't own it. I'm like, wow.
It doesn't matter what you do, yeah.
And it makes you laugh, because it's like, that's not on me, that's on them. If you want to hear what I'm saying, you'll hear it. If you want to hear what you think you want to hear, that's what you're going to hear. And I think for a lot of people, that stops them from stepping out in faith. And my encouragement for anybody would be, make sure it's the right voices that are stopping you. Make sure it's the right voices that are pushing you forward. But for us, we've had to do this. It hasn't been easy. No one likes to be talked about. No one likes to be criticized. But you do get to a point where you're like, okay, cool. And a lot of mine's warranted. I got grace for people. I get it. Like I'm not going to let you, take random shots at me to my face, which has never happened. But at the same time, I get it. Like, I'm a pastor who fell hard because of his choices. And now coming back around, it takes trust to believe a guy like me. It takes time. That's okay. I'm not going anywhere, and I've got grace for that. And I can't continually tell people I'm not doing this. Isn't a stepping stone. It's like, no. 99% of people don't need to hear that anyway. They're awesome. Yeah. I have a narcissistic tendency to care about what I cannot change, and that's something that I'm actively always working on. So now it's like, do people like it? Do people not like it? I don't know. I don't care. I mean, I know it's helping people, and I know that's our goal. So you can question my motive if you want. That's your right. I can't change your mind. So I hope you're happy with how you feel, because, there is something to be said about culture. There is a pastor named YPJ, shout out to YPJ, who I heard him say it really articulately. And actually, let me just play it. And because he says it better than I do, but this is Pastor YPJ talking about trying to prove things to people. This is on his TikTok.
He's very wordy, by the way.
It's great and wordy. So just listen to this.
One of the major concerns about posting content on social media is you're dealing with a variety of heart and mind conditions. Some have been improperly indoctrinated, heartbroken, or isolated within a community of limited scope. Thus, individuals hear you through their heart's condition and not your heart's intention. A contaminated perspective can't properly decipher motives, meaning, or will, because a corrupted heart produces callous ears. I'm saying this through experience. There is no amount of clarity in which you can relay a message, or no measure of simplicity in which you can overemphasize a point that will convince a person lost in offense of the meaning of your message. People will dig, reach, and claw in order to come up with a way to validate their misunderstanding. If they don't want to like it, they're going to find a reason not to like it. If they don't want to like you, they're going to find a reason not to like you, even if they have to conjure up a derivative from a delusional dissection. So you can't base the effectiveness or efficiency of your content on the total agreement of those commenting on your posts, because somebody is going to disagree. And some people just troll. They implant negativity so they can get some form of engagement. When you don't have a social life, you do whatever you can to get attention. The only thing you can attempt is to do your best to relay your message in a way that the mass majority understands your heart's intention. But it's also a place where there's a block button, and people will say, no, you shouldn't block them. Let them see your success. No, the Bible says, blessed are the peacemakers. And clearly my content is disrupting your life. So in my effort to give you you peace, I block you. I'm just simply doing the Lord's work.
I'm not pointing that at somebody else. I'm pointing that at me as well. I have that tendency as well. Of course, it's happening to me. That's going to be the story of my life for a very long time. That's a consequence of breaking trust, where people, it doesn't matter. If I say anything, people are going to want to twist it. That's cool. It's going to happen. But what matters is what I think is true. And that's been our journey right now. And it's so true, by the way. My challenge for anybody would be to just make sure your unconscious bias about somebody isn't robbing you of something that could be really valuable. Like this happened to us last night. A movie called Horizon came out. I'm a huge Kevin Costner fan. I love Yellowstone. It's my alter ego. I am Rip from the show. Love it or hate it, that's me. So I want to be in another life. Get over it. I love Westerns. I love Kevin Costner. That's why he's making this movie Horizon. He spent $55 million of his own money.
4 chapters.
And I love this guy.
Chapters.
But I haven't been able to see it in a couple weeks. And the journey from when I heard about the movie to watching it last night was filled with bad reviews. This movie in particular got killed by the critics. And I kept reading all these reviews almost by accident. I'm like, I can't wait to see it for myself. Well, we sit down to watch it. And every single thing that happened, I was like, oh, yeah, that could be bad. That could be cheesy. That could be a bad shot. I already had implanted in my head, whether I like it or not, that people don't think this movie is legit. So I was not able to enjoy
without
Horizon
criticizing it
plainly and clearly, because I had poured in somebody else's idea of what this already was. And I was like, that sucks so bad, because I would have loved this, because I want to make up my own mind. I don't care about what some critic in Santa Barbara, California thinks about movies. I am a better movie critic than him. So why would I let his view of the cinematography infect my soul? And now I missed Horizon. Couldn't even watch it. Had to go back to a different show. And that is my encouragement to anybody, is to just be careful that your hate, bitterness, preconceived notion, assumption about anything isn't robbing you of something that's really valuable. I've learned that God can use anybody, firstly. Anybody. And the Bible proves that through every page. And even in this chapter of our life, we're just really aware, I don't want to get robbed because of my pride or my pain. So I'm able even to hear from my enemies. I'm able to receive even from people who want harm for me. It has such little impact that I'm still going to look at your life and try to find something great that I can emulate.
Yeah.
That's a fun place to be.
You're good at that.
So that's our what would you say to people that are scared? Because you've started 3 businesses. You have had to do new things. You've had to step out in faith. So if there's a woman listening and she's maybe even in shoes similar to yours, where she's lost a lot and she's gun shy, lost her confidence, has some dreams in her heart, but just doesn't feel like it's going to go well, and she's weary, what do you say to her today?
I say find 1 or 2 friends. That's all you need.
Yeah.
That are going to encourage you and lift you up and push you. Find out what you love, what's in your heart to do, and go for it. Find the right people that can help you along the journey. I had some great people that I met.
Yeah, you did.
Like Amber Duncan in Florida. She was my biggest cheerleader. And she was the one that helped me with business stuff. And I would never have done it, ever, if I hadn't met her. And she's been amazing for me in that space. So I think it's just finding 1 or 2 that are going to be your biggest cheerleaders.
That's great.
And go for it.
And I would encourage people to don't dwell on the people who don't like you.
Yeah.
Don't dwell on the people that have been trying to hold you back. And this is take it way outside our situation. Whatever people are dealing with, there's going to be people that pour some negative water on your positive fire. Got to be aware of it. Our question is always, when dealing with criticism, I think it's an arrogant premise to just reject everybody who doesn't like you, because that's not smart. There could be truth in that. So my first question when I hear criticism is it true? Second question when I hear criticism is, who's saying it? So if the first one is it true? No. Second one, who's saying it? A stranger. How much weight can this really have? Like, what kind of man am I? It'd be like me looking at you right now, Laura, going, you have blue hair. It's blue. And then you being crushed because someone thought that. Do you have blue hair?
No.
You don't have it. So I've had to get to a place where it's like, no, I'm okay. Say what you're going to say. just in case, I'll listen. But as far as receiving it deep in my soul and letting it impact me, oh my gosh, I would have been dead in the water 4 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
That was the case with the things that were said. Even the things I said to myself were way more hurtful and negative than what anybody could throw at me. So my big encouragement for any lights on listeners would be to step out, see what happens. Worst thing that could happen is that you tried something and you got better from it. Best case, it changes the world.
Right.
Worst case is that you never tried because you were afraid of what somebody else was going to say, think, or do. I will end with a very funny story about there's an artist that people know. His name's Kanye West, and
that went well too.
he's doing good. I had a conversation with Kanye one time and another artist, and Kanye looked at this artist and he goes, "You want my advice?" Guy goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Make music people hate. Don't you ever make a song people like." I remember looking at the guy and he didn't get it. I got it. And I remember telling this particular artist, I'm like, don't listen to that right now. Make some stuff people like. Kanye's point was forget about where culture's always going to be stuck in the norm.
Yeah.
And I did this podcast the other day with the guys from The Minimalist. They were talking about Wayne Gretzky always used to skate where the puck was going to be. Not where it is. That's what a leader does. That's what a dreamer does. That's what a pioneer. Normal people want to, what does culture want right now? Let me give that to them.
Right.
Leaders who want to change the world go, that's great. The status quo is awesome. I'm going to do this. And Kanye hit it on the head. I mean, the bottom line of his message was be bold.
Yeah.
Like, I get it that everybody wants this kind of music. I'm going to make this. Amazing how people will go to this new vision, this new light. But if you're so stuck in what you think people want, you will miss out on the beauty of this life. So if our podcast is just to encourage people to step out in faith and don't live in shame, don't live in fear, it's worth it. It's a worthy endeavor.
Totally.
So we'll pick this up again. It's been an epic first chapter of this podcast. You choose what defines you, and you choose what has value in your life. And that's our story, and we're sticking to it.